Welcome back to TV5 News at 9. When something happens that causes us to get hurt, it's not always clear what we need to do next. Joining us this morning to help us understand personal injury and the first steps you need to take, we have attorney Joseph Barberi, Barberi Law Firm. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Lauren.
So, Joe, for those who might not know, how would you define what a personal injury attorney does and what types of cases typically fall under that category?
Sure. A personal injury attorney is someone that advocates for someone else who's been injured as a result of somebody's negligence. Somebody caused them to be injured. And what we do is we work with that injured party to document the nature and extent of their injuries and how it's affected their life, so that we can tell the story to either a claims adjuster or an insurance agent of some sort, or ultimately, if we have to a jury. We try to avoid that if possible, and we try not to have a jury trial because most people don't like that. But we help people navigate through the system to get their claim adjusted properly, to get them the compensation they deserve as a result of their injuries.
And as you mentioned, if someone has been injured due to someone else's negligence, like a car crash, a slip, fall, even a dog bite,
right,
what are the very first steps they should take to protect themselves and their case?
Well, initially, number one, seek medical attention. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, obviously to get better. And two is to document the nature and extent of their injury. Just from a medical standpoint, what happened? Did they get a broken neck? Did they get a broken arm? Did they get an injury to their brain, traumatic brain injury? So getting medical documentation is real important. And then following that medical advice, because you don't want insurance companies to say, well, your injured party didn't do what the doctor told them to, that's why they're having all their problems. So you make sure they go to their medical appointments, physical therapy, whatever's necessary. And then keep a diary, take photographs. You know, if you're in the hospital and you've got a severe injury, have somebody take a photograph. The old idiom that a picture's worth 1,000 words. It's critical. I mean, I've had people terrifically injured, and I show the photo of the degloving injury where their arteries, their nerves are all exposed, the skin has been ripped off their arm. It's terrible. It's hard for me to look at sometimes, realizing the pain that that individual's gone through. When I show that to a claims adjuster, the case gets settled.
No arguing that.
No different than to a jury. So documenting the nature of their injuries and explaining how it doesn't allow them to live the life they used to. And boy, when you've got an older client that all of a sudden has a terrific injury, many times they're forced to leave their home. Many times they have to give up the ability to drive. And emotionally, those are devastating effects on that individual. So documenting all of those things so that we as their advocate can explain the loss that they really sustained.
Got to have evidence, right?
That's right, that's right. And a lot of times if you don't get a hold of a lawyer right away, evidence can be lost. And we've had cases where as soon as we've got a phone call, I tell people in the first 72 hours, get a hold of us, because we can send investigators out and find witnesses that sometimes have left the scene and document how an accident happened. We can hire experts that can explain what went on. And many times, if you don't act quickly, that evidence is lost.
Well, going back to those first 72 hours, why is that window so important, and what mistakes do people often make? Well,
insurance companies try to adjust a claim or settle a case quickly because they sometimes show up right in the hospital room, sign here. And making mistakes like signing off early can actually sometimes cost an injured party an opportunity for thousands of dollars of underinsurance coverage or even an umbrella policy that could be voided because somebody signs off something quickly. Again, going back to that losing information, I had a case in Gratiot County where an individual was injured in a terrific injury accident where the individual's car caught on fire and he ultimately died in that. And the insurance company said, boy, we saw the autopsy and there was no soot in his lungs, so it's nice that he was killed instantly. I said, wait a minute. I hired some experts. They went out, investigators, and they ran down a couple of witnesses that the police were so concerned about trying to handle the scene, they didn't get a chance to interview them, and the experts actually heard the individual screaming and crying, "Help, get me out, get me out." And, you know, the individual burned to death, and that allowed us to be able to make a claim for conscious pain and suffering that would have otherwise been lost had we not had that case quickly investigated.
Oh, that is so eye-opening.
Yeah.
When it comes to a good personal injury case, can you explain the components that can make one?
Sure. I always use the three-legged stool example where I say, okay, leg one is somebody else was at fault. Somebody caused your injuries, they owed you a duty, they breached that duty and proximately caused your injury. We have to prove that. Then secondly, we have to show that the injury is serious. It's affected their ability to lead their normal life. It's not just a minor injury. And we have to document that. And then thirdly, the most important leg is that there's collectability, that the person that caused the accident had insurance coverage or significant financial assets. Because, you know, if somebody steals a car, they get out of jail and runs a red light and seriously injures somebody, but they don't have a dime, getting $1 million verdict doesn't translate into any money. So you've got to have somebody's at fault, leg one. Number two, somebody seriously injured, and leg number three of that three-legged stool is collectability. And if you don't have any one of those legs, what happens to a three-legged stool? It falls down. Yeah. So you don't have a good personal injury. You have to have all three components.
Well, I am learning so much this morning. Joe, thank you for these tips and reminders. We appreciate it.
Pleasure. Glad to be here.
You can always find more information on Barberry Law Firm on our website. Click on the hot link section of WNEM.com. We'll be right back.